Welcome to this explainer. So today we're diving into the Wesak Moon, which actually marks this incredibly profound psychological threshold for all of us. It's really that pivotal moment where we look at the raw, honestly often super turbulent waters of our lived experience, and we begin to formalize that chaotic nature into a space of actual beauty. Think about it like a lotus flower, right? It rises from the absolute bottom mud just to float completely unsullied on the surface of the lake. This is entirely about navigating our deepest emotional depths, definitely not avoiding them. It's kind of like an internal rescue mission where the drowning man of the ego is finally pulled up into the light of awareness.
Now, we really have to start with a core realization here, and it's this: true awakening is not spontaneous magic. I know, right? It's not some sudden lightning bolt that's just going to hit you out of nowhere. Instead, it is the deliberate and honestly the really patient, gritty work of cultivating your inner soil. Growth absolutely doesn't happen by accident. It requires you to carefully, intentionally water the narratives and the ideas that you actually want to see bloom. The beauty that we eventually get to share with the world, well, that is the direct result of the quiet, consistent care we put into our own internal landscape. To truly understand the mechanics of this awakening, let's take a quick look at the cosmic data. Occurring precisely on May 1st, 2026, at exactly 1:23 p.m. in Etobicoke, Ontario, this full moon is traditionally known as a flower moon. But here's the cool part. It's also a micromoon, meaning it's happening near its farthest point from Earth, and it's the first of a double full moon month. But honestly, looking way beyond just the astronomy here, this specific cosmic geometry acts as a profound mission briefing. The chart for this exact moment reveals that those gritty eternal experiments of your life, yeah, they are finally ready to take flight as a functional service to the collective.
Which brings us to our first main area, the Wesak awakening, and finding stillness in the depths.
So, this particular moment is defined by this really intense, deep tension between the physical Earth and the emotional underworld. On one side, we have the sun sitting at 11 degrees Taurus. This brings up the archetype of a woman watering flowers, which represents the patient, daily cultivation of the mind. But then, right on the other side, the moon is at 11 degrees Scorpio, represented by a drowning man rescued. This side represents the absolute urgent necessity of saving someone from the depths. So what's the lesson here? The rescue is the event, but the gardening is the process. Your mission is literally to provide rescue to others through the careful, consistent cultivation of your own inner narratives.
Moving on to part 2, tending the inner soil, stepping into the role of the alchemist of form. Okay, so before we can even think about rescuing anyone else, we have to look at our very own foundations, which are anchored right at the 13th degree of Scorpio. Here we run into the archetype of the inventor. Basically, you are treating your own healing journeys as high-stakes experiments in an inner laboratory. You're testing things like linguistic alchemy and narrative sovereignty, which is a fancy way of saying you are taking control of the stories you tell yourself and learning how to turn your words into actual power. By facing your own challenges with curiosity instead of fear, you literally alchemize the heaviest mud of your unconscious into your greatest strength. But here's the thing. The results of your gritty, private, internal testing are absolutely never meant to stay hidden in the dark. Directly opposite the inventor is the highest point of your astrological chart, the midheaven. This represents your public legacy. What this shows us is that your private experiments are destined, literally meant, to become a highly visible, grounded structural foundation in the real world. Those roots that you've been growing in the dark, they are finally ready to feed the blossoms out in the light.
All right, let's move right into section 3, breaking the master script and the process of emergence.
To actually build that visible foundation, there's going to be a critical moment where your old frameworks just can no longer contain you. At 7 degrees Aquarius, we encounter something called the Hiranyagarbha, the emergent self. Think of it like a golden egg cracking open to reveal this brilliant light. You must shatter those old master scripts and completely outgrow the systemic boundaries that once defined you. Now, I won't lie, it feels super disruptive when it happens, but this shattering is entirely necessary for you to inhabit a much larger, more expansive social reality.
And as you emerge from that cracked shell, the moon in the star sign of Swati steps in to grant you the life-giving breath of radical individuality. Swati is beautifully symbolized by a delicate shoot, like a flower or a sword, bending gracefully in a really strong, swirling wind. It perfectly represents having the courage to just stand apart from the collective when you need to, cutting away the old dependencies that tethered your mind to those past constraints.
But I want to be really clear about what this kind of individuality actually means. The goal here is absolutely not isolation.
In fact, supreme individuality is ultimately achieved through supreme humanitarianism. It's a bit of a paradox, right? True sovereignty means learning how to be a unique, completely indispensable part of the whole. You stand unique in the storm, yes, but you do not cut yourself off from the community. You become a master of your own domain specifically so that you can better serve the collective.
Up next, let's explore gathering the cosmic arsenal through the finger of fate.
The Wesak chart features this absolutely inescapable cosmic mandate. It's an astrological configuration called a yod, which is also famously known as the finger of fate. And the gravity of this is immense. This geometry essentially dictates that the universe is funneling intense, highly concentrated pressure from a cooperative base of 2 planets directly into a single focal point of unavoidable action. And guess where it's pointing? Straight at that Scorpio moon we just talked about. So let's break down the 2 really powerful tools equipping this base. The very first tool at the base is Saturn at 9 degrees Aries, represented by the archetype of the crystal gazer. This is all about your disciplined foresight. It's the learned ability to use highly concentrated attention to look right past your immediate ego-driven desires. You know, like wanting instant gratification or freaking out and giving up on your literal houseplants just because you missed 1 day of watering. Instead, you're learning to see the larger organic pattern of time. And by doing that, you preserve essential spiritual seeds for the future, making sure your actions have real, lasting structural integrity.
Now, partnering flawlessly with that seer is Venus at 9 degrees Gemini, beautifully symbolized by a quiver filled with arrows. This is the archer's arsenal. Because let's face it, having vision alone just isn't enough. You need the actual tools to communicate it to the world. These arrows represent a trans-piercing communicative power. It's an arsenal of ideas, words, and creative concepts that you use to shoot straight through the illusions of the ego, clearing the path for a much deeper understanding.
But the archer and the seer aren't working alone. Working right alongside them is this massive concentration of supporting planets in the 9th house, acting as a sort of philosophical engine for you. First, we've got Mars, providing the poise of the master, transforming past blockages into serene wisdom. Then there's Mercury, operating with this lightning-fast mind that's just flooded with more creative gifts than it can hold. And finally, Pluto, granting the ultimate capacity for profound, truly transformative listening. Together, this crew is preparing your mind for some seriously deep relational alchemy.
Which leads us directly into our final phase, the great humanitarian rescue, the apex. So, all of these incredible tools we've just covered, the arrows of communication, the long-term visions of the crystal sphere, the rapid intellect, the profound listening, they are all being forcefully directed by that finger of fate into a single apex point. The cosmos is basically giving you a mandate. These high-minded tools cannot just be hoarded for your own intellectual vanity. No way. They exist entirely for one singular purpose right now: to dive headfirst into the troubled waters of the human condition and actually pull the drowning man from the deep waters of despair.
And that mission? It is officially sanctioned right here at the gateway of the chart. The ascendant sits at 22 degrees Leo, symbolized by a carrier pigeon fulfilling its mission, securely seated on the Maga throne, which represents deep ancestral authority. This is the confirmation you've been waiting for. Your inner training is officially over. This is now a public commission. You are no longer just gathering interesting insights for yourself. You are an active world server delivering a crucial message of rescue to the collective.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want us to return to that opening image of the lotus and the lake. You have done the gritty, behind-the-scenes work of the gardener. You have shattered those old master scripts, and you've successfully gathered the arrows of the mind and the visions of the crystal. So the ultimate, most provocative question the Wesak Moon leaves you with today is this. As the lotus finally blooms from your own inner sea, how will you use the mended gold of your lived experience to serve as a literal rescue line for a drowning world? Thank you so much for exploring this amazing cosmic geometry with me. Let that question incubate for a bit, and I'll see you in the next explainer.